T minus 1 minute. T minus 50 seconds. T minus 40 seconds. T minus 30 seconds. T minus 20 seconds. Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Own it, own it, own it, Kong. I own it. It did.
Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling show on the planet. Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling show on the planet.
Hey, hey, hey! I know it's a little bit later, but either way, we are still here. Welcome to Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling show on the planet, and welcome to the WOW Superheroes Aftershow. Per usual, I'm your girl, Stephanie Hardy, host and creator of the Hardy Wrestling Podcast, host of Women's Wrestling Talk and color commentator for the Belladonna Division, Battle Club Pro, and Black Girl Magic 2, and a panelist, at New York Comic Con as of this past Friday. We had a phenomenal time. It was wonderful, and I'm really honored that Katrina, who is next to me, actually asked me to be a part of it. She is the visionary behind it. She is also the host and creator of In Cat We Trust, a super mom, and just all of the things. She is my WW Talk Pod sister. Katrina, how are you? I feel like I just saw you.
You did just see me. I'm okay. I'm tired. It's been a crazy couple last 5 or 6 days. But I am happy to be here.
Yes, of course. And then last but certainly not least, she is a producer, interviewer for various wrestling companies, and just an all-around super lady who got her nails done in Halloween and autumn gear. She is Emily Mae Heller. How are you?
I'm good. Hi, everyone. Doing well. I know I did a little like spooky Halloween. Tried to get fancy for everyone. So
Yeah, I get it. Everybody is just getting into the fall of things and just getting happy for that. And of course, people buy sweaters, people get colors of different things, people get decorations. Halloween is just around the corner, so everybody's just getting ready for that. And it's great. And I love your nails. So it's beautiful.
Nice. Priorities, Stephanie, priorities today. That was my self-care thing for the day.
Yeah, I totally get it. My self-care was sleeping because I've been through a lot.
You guys had a wild weekend. You had an exciting, momentous weekend. So I'm super proud of you. I was watching all of the socials, trying to keep track of what was going on, and it looked like an amazing panel. So congratulations, you two, making history.
Thank you so much. It was so
Thank
wonderful. It was so wonderful to be a part of, and so wonderful to hug people that I've met online, interviewed with, worked with, and all of the above. It was just amazing.
Isn't it amazing? I had that moment a few weeks ago, or maybe months now, because time flies. But I met so many podcasters via, in the pandemic and quarantine, and you talk to them all the time, and then finally you see them at a live show. And you were like, wait, we actually haven't met in person. And it just is totally different. And it's amazing. So that's great. You guys got to meet everyone.
And then we got to share knowledge with each other. So it was a blessed time. And I'm so happy, with the turnout and everything. It was great. And just shout out to Katrina again because she's the visionary and she came up with all of this herself and she just deserves all the flowers for it because she did it. She did all of this.
Ah, thank you.
You're welcome. You know it. You know it. All right. Now that we can now we can move past that part. All the love we just got to show each other, show everyone love. We have to talk about WOW Superheroes, right? This past episode was really good and full of action and drama. um and of course, the continuation of tournaments and feuds and stuff for the titles and everything. So of course our first match was the fourth match, they said on commentary, in the WOW tag team tournament, and it was between the Tonga Twins, of course, and of course we did learn their names. They're Kaoz and Kona versus Princess Aussie and a new character on the horizon, Tiki Chamorro. Now, they did say on commentary that Tiki had been teaching Princess Aussie how to surf, which I think it's really interesting. They said that Tiki is from Guam, I believe. And the last time we saw Princess Aussie, she had a match against Reina Del Rey, who was gunning for the Beast and her WOW Women's title. And that was the last time we saw her because she lost to her. So to see her in this tag team tournament was a little bit surprising for me, but I didn't, hate it at all because this match was really good. I enjoyed this match very much. It was like, oh, no, my light. I'm sorry. Never let anyone dim your light, guys. So
Always shine brightly, guys. Shine brightly.
yes, shine brightly. So this match sort of started off with Princess and one of the twins squaring off against each other, and then Aussie was able to show a lot of her agility towards the beginning of the match with a drop kick and her sort of swirling around with her Hurricanrana on one of the twins. And then of course, and then on commentary, of course, since they like to have fun, David McLean even asked AJ if there was a point where she wanted to like come on as a trainer as well as a commentator.
Yes, I
And she
love
changed and she was like, "No, I'm retired. I have bad knees and a bad back. Like, I
it.
can't do this."
But
And it's
what's
so
funny is they kept talking about it. Like it was interesting that this was a topic of conversation during this match. So that I wonder if that's a clue for future things. Maybe I don't know.
maybe. I mean, she would have a lot of knowledge to share. I mean, she may not necessarily get in the ring, but of course, you don't necessarily have to like wrestle to be a teacher. So, I mean, I feel like she would be a good teacher, but it's all about her comfortability, of course. So, she's always on commentary, giving her 2 cents. So, that's cool. Then Tiki was really quick in this match, but then she was knocked down, of course, by the twins, and she was actually struggling just a tad bit. But there was one point during the match where she even hit a 619. And I was just like, oh my God, girl, that's so cool. I love seeing the 619 from Rey Mysterio, of course, the legend. But I definitely love it when women do it, like Io Sky, and now Tiki doing it on WOW Superheroes as well. AJ even talked about her ring awareness in the match and saying that she might struggle with it simply because she is relatively new to wrestling. I think that was what they were alluding to. But even through that, Tiki was still able to fight through the match. But even after that, they knocked down Princess Aussie and Tiki and hit a triple hip attack, but they still managed to kick out and fight through it. And then Princess Aussie took to the skies and climbed up on the top rope, tried to jump on the Tonga Twins, and they caught her midair. But then Tiki did a suicide dive onto the Tonga Twins, and that was a really cool move because I'm just like, wow, all of the high flying stuff, like it was just really cool. But through it all, the Tonga Twins wound up winning the match with a double Samoan drop onto Tiki. So now they are going forward in the semifinals. So, ladies, tell me how you felt about this match and how you feel about Tiki since we are new to her at this juncture.
Yeah, I mean, I love this match. I feel like it was for Aussie Princess. I feel like we saw her in a singles competition last time, so this was really great to see her in kind of tag team competition. Tiki's really great. I really love them actually working together really well in this match. And again, like Tonga Twins are a really, really strong tag team. We've seen them over and over again dominate in WOW. And so this was a tough competition going in, but I feel like both of them, Tiki and Princess Aussie, really showed that they are potential contenders. Tag team tournaments are really fun, and I feel like this episode overall was a lot more storytelling, a lot more in depth kind of psychology behind these matches and behind these characters that we're seeing. And that's what I really love to see in this first match.
Absolutely, I agree with all of that. So, Katrina, how did you feel about the match?
It was a good way to open up. Wow, I like the Tonga Twins. They're like so dominant, but it was also nice to it's nice to see the tag teams where they're a tag team, but it's also nice to see the tag teams that are trying to kind of get through the tournament, kind of just paired up for the tournament. And so I liked what I saw, but I was happy with the win because they were doing their thing during the whole match. I was like, there was moments where I was like, okay, all right, ladies, I see what you're doing. And I did agree. The 619 was actually pretty cool. I always got hyped about that move when Rey Mysterio does that. And so even now I'm like, yes, even though they don't do him right now. But no, neither here nor there. When he does the 619, I'm always like hype about that. And so it was actually really nice to see that. And it was done well. So I thought it was a really good open to WOW with regards to the tag team tournament. Like, I'm really excited to see kind of what we're going to get. And it's very possible we might be looking at, the tag team champions. Like, it's very possible that it will be the Tonga Twins. They've been absolutely killing it so far in every match we've seen them in.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like, I really do agree with the idea that the Tonga Twins could very well go on to win the whole dang thing because they are just so dominant. They, have that chemistry together. Well, definitely because they're sisters, but also as a tag team as well. And even though Princess Aussie and Tiki really did, kind of show up and show out a couple of times, there was times where I maybe thought that maybe they would pull up an upset, but they didn't, and the Tonga Twins wound up coming out with the win, so they're going to the semifinals. And I just want to send blessings to whoever it is that they have to face later on in the semifinals, because gosh, they just can't be stopped.
Yeah, I mean, who do you think it's going to be? Because we've seen established WOW tag teams, and we've also seen, again, in this case, in this episode, we saw Princess Aussie teamed up with Tiki. So like we've seen these kind of these tag team partners kind of put together and kind of building their own stories and their own connections. So I'm interested, again, Stephanie, like to your point, who, like, the Tonga Twins are dominating right now. So who, looking at the WOW roster, who can potentially, and we see a little bit more in this episode, I think we get an idea of potentially who are some future opponents in the semifinals. But it's always intriguing. I love this part of it because it makes me sit on the edge of my seat and wonder all the possibilities.
Yeah, I feel like, it's hard to tell, who it could be, because you still have Miami Sweet Heat. You still have, of course, later on, we will talk about it,
Yeah, there's
who's in it next, but there's just so many tag teams, and I'm just really interested to see who could do it. But I really do feel like it really could be the Tonga Twins. Like, that's just my strong feeling about that. But moving on into more of that, along with some single stuff, they announced the second match, which is going to be between BK Rhythm and Randy Rah. Now, of course, Randy Rah is the cheerleader who we saw in, I believe, the first episode when she tagged with Chantilly Chella, and they did face the Tonga Twins but wound up losing. So she is in this singles match against BK Rhythm, of course, who is the rapper John Cena-esque character of WOW. So as Randy Rara was making her entrance, I noticed on commentary they were talking about how Randy had got into it a little bit with Coach Campanelli, and how they had gotten into a little bit of an argument. But then, as she made her entrance, of course, BK Rhythm liked to do a rap before her matches. And I wrote down a little bit of her bars here. It's funny that BK Rhythm still had these bars on deck, even though the last time we saw her, she lost her first match against Vivian Rivera, but she still had a lot to say to Randy Rara. She said, "Isn't it a little odd that you're out here without a squad? Going one on one with me, you're gonna blow out a quad." And then another bar that she had was, "Inside of my ring, you can never bring it on." And of course, if you love cheerleading or if you just love 2000s movies like I do, you know that she was making a reference to the movie Bring It On, which is just an iconic movie with Kirsten Dunst and Gabrielle Union and all the girls.
Okay, so remember I had issues with her kind of her first debut on the I think the first episode, second episode. Second episode. But like this made this it kind of felt like more like spoken word this time, where it felt like okay, and she had such like seriousness, but also just such comedic timing with it that it just she hit all the beats of it, and it made it really funny. And I appreciated the humor behind it, even though like she obviously is serious, but like there's a fine balance, and I just find it like I found it to be a very charming moment, and it's like her way of kind of getting in her opponent's head right before the match, right, and setting the stage of like, hey, you know, this is my my stage here. No one, you know, you're not going to take me out. But I really like this this introduction again to her style. It was really playful.
Yeah, Kat, how did you feel about those bars?
I mean, you know, really hard to please sometimes. It was better than the first one because, like, I was like, sis, no. It was better. I did appreciate the Bring It On reference. I appreciate the Bring It On reference. I was like, okay, you know, I mean, that's a whole rant on that movie with those shenanigans, but I did appreciate the reference because I do like the movie. But it was better. It was better than we got the first time, because first time I was side eyeing her a whole lot. This time I was like, okay, I guess this is okay, and I can feel what you're saying and not be like, girl, why are we doing this? So it was better. I'll give her that. It was definitely better than the first time.
Yeah, it was really funny. I liked it. I guess because I'm just a pun person. I also love wordplay like that. Like even in rap in real life, like I just really like stuff like that, and I like references to things that I know. So I thought it was really interesting and really cute. But Randy Rara didn't take too kindly to this at all, and she responded to her with a number of backflips, and I was like, okay, girl, I see you. Being a championship gymnast cheer girl. I loved it. I absolutely adored it.
She was bringing the spirit, the school spirit. She always does.
Yes, it was really cute. But then before the match got started, you know, we heard some country music in the back. And guess who decided to show up and interrupt the proceedings again? Jessie Jones. So, of course, the last time we saw Jessie Jones, she was fighting with Foxy Fierce and Ice Cold to prove that she could fight in the tag team tournament by herself to win back the titles that she never lost. Now, of course,
on commentary they were talking about this, like, hey, it's not so true. So their commentary was trying to correct her there.
Yeah. What else were they saying about it not being true, Emily?
I think they were just saying, hey, like, it's not true. Like, from what I heard, they were like, hey, that's not quite right. Saying that she got titles that they were like stripped from her and all that. So I feel like there's some commentary. I feel like there's a lot more there that they're trying to tell this story here.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks for that part. Because I didn't necessarily like hear that component of it, but I am interested to hear what other story they can tell from that. But in the meantime, Jessie came out and she basically talked about how David said that she needed a partner, so she decided to pick BK Rhythm to be her partner. And she alluded to the fact that the both of them are redheads, which makes them, aggressive and very fiery, and that she thinks that she's yeah, that they just have very tenacious and that they can both move forward in the tournament together. So they turned this into a tag team match. But and then Jessie basically told Randy that she needed to find a partner. But she didn't leave the ring, which is kind of funny because usually, in wrestling, whenever someone says, "Oh, we're gonna challenge you and you have to find a partner," it's like a show long journey until the match, actually takes place and you see the partner. But no, Randy Rara had a partner immediately, and it was Coach Campanelli, who she got into it with backstage earlier. She came out to help her. And this whole coach and cheerleading component here again reminded me of Glee and Sue Sylvester and the Cheerios. So it was still real. I thought it was a really cute, combination there. So I thought that was cool. So now we had a tag team match between Coach Campanelli and Randy Rara versus BK Rhythm and Jessie Jones. And I guess they were counting this as part of the tournament for the tag titles. So they went ahead and fought. And this match was pretty good for the most part. Jessie and Coach Campanelli were taking turns hitting each other with various strikes and stuff. And it was just, they were both just sort of hitting each other back and forth, trading holds back and forth on each other's wrists and arms. There was even a point where they even tagged in Randy and she hit a drop kick onto Jessie. Onto Jessie. And then she even gave her a flip and a shoulder tackle to Jessie. And I thought that was cool because it felt like Jessie was just trying to underestimate her, not even just because she was a cheerleader, but just because she thought she just had it going on that way. And I'm just like, no, you can't just, underestimate your opponent just because you think you're, that girl. Like, you can't just do that. So
what I loved is that I love that like Jessie just came in and like tried to show exactly what she wanted.
mm-hmm.
Like she made a statement last episode of, hey, because David McLean said, hey, you need a tag team partner in order to make this happen. She was like, I'm going to find one. And she was like, all right, I'm going to make this happen. And so I loved how like she kind of interrupted their moment, like interrupted this match. But I feel like it created this really interesting moment for this really big development of like her teaming with someone that might not be like as strong potentially, but like their alliance makes them like even stronger. I just found it super fun. Here we're gonna get this back up here. Like I love this. Like you said, there's kind of that Sue Sylvester kind of spirit squad because I loved how like how BK Rhythm was like, well, you don't have a squad now, but then now they're like, and now it's a tag team match. So like you have your partner, you got your squad, you got your backup, and so here was like really a fun way to kind of bring this together. But I don't know. I think it was a surprise. A surprise victory that I know. Well, you'll explain. But but it was like what I was predicting did not necessarily happen. So that made it really fun.
Yeah, and Katrina is popping back in, so we'll let her. Yeah, here she is. Okay, so yeah, there was that dynamic, going on there, and I really did enjoy it, for the most part in this match. But then there was even a point where BK even started to, use underhanded tactics that she was sort of learning, I guess, by watching Jessie, because there was a point where Randy bumped up against the ropes, and then BK kicked her in the back and then pretended like she didn't do anything in front of the referee. And I was like, oh no, not you trying to be bad. So, but even in the midst of that, you also had feats of athleticism in the match because you saw Randy Rara hit a split to duck one of Jessie's punches.
Yeah.
And then Jessie said, okay, I could do a split too. And then she did one and then hit Randy in the face. And I was like, I like this back and forth.
Well, I liked how it was like they were all trying to one up each other and say, "Well, I could do this."
Yes.
It's like that song, like, "Yeah, anything you can do, I can do better." And they're
Yeah.
just like, "Well, I can do this, and I can do this," and I loved how it turned into this kind of like just this leveling up of each moment, and so that was a cool moment.
Yeah, definitely. Like it was really cool. But then what's so funny is even with all of that one-upsmanship, um, the thing that the thing that I found the funniest is just the fact that Coach blew her whistle in Jessie's face once she got back, in the corner. And then Jessie knocked the whistle out of her mouth. And then as she tried to pick it up, she wound up tripping BK Rhythm up, with her body. And then she rolled her up for the 1, 2, 3. And I was just like, whoa. So basically, Coach Campanelli and Randy Rara round up winning the match. And now they're going forward in the tournament, which means that Miss Jessie and BK are out. And I thought that was a very unconventional and cute little way to win a match. So
Yeah. I mean,
yeah,
this was super surprising. Like I said earlier, like I was, I feel like these were the underdogs really in this match. But I found it really like they built to this really well. And I enjoyed it. And I'm kind of glad, sometimes you can't have the bad guy go forward, right? Like interrupting the match, making a fuss. But I feel like we're not done with Jessie here. I feel like she might come back and maybe she'll bring another tag team partner in the mix. I don't know.
maybe so, because she is the type of woman that just likes to just insert herself in things. And she just might come back, but maybe there's this part of me that almost feels like maybe she just shouldn't and just just accept the loss and then just bounce back however else she can bounce back, because this tag tournament thing is just, yeah, it's not working. But Katrina, let us know how you felt about the match.
I liked it. I was actually surprised with the outcome because after all of that, with Jessie saying that she got the belts taken from her, she technically never lost the belt, and how she kind of just interjected herself in the tournament, I was sure she wouldn't have gotten eliminated as quickly as she did. So that surprised me, that they went that route with it. But I did like the whole coach cheerleader thing. Gave me Glee vibes. Like, Jane Lynch and the cheer and the gleeks that was on the cheerleading squad. It
The
gave me those vibes.
Cheerios.
Yeah, that you couldn't think of the name. Yes, the Cheerios. I got those vibes, especially wearing the red and white costumes gave me Glee vibes, and so I thought, again, being able to kind of see them, play off of that with the athleticism, and it worked. They got a win out of it, and so it was interesting. I was actually, again, very surprised because after all that Jessie was doing, I would have swore she was gonna at least get a little further into the tournament than she did. And so I'm curious now, is she gonna really let it go, or is she gonna pop up again in a week or two? Like, let me find a new tag team partner to see if I can win my title back. And so I'm
She's
curious
coming
how if they're
back.
gonna.
I'm feeling Katrina. She's coming back. I really think so. Something's gonna happen.
So I
Yeah,
mean,
she
yeah,
might.
I don't know. She'll give me vibe. She's gonna take it laying down, like she's gonna like take the L and just
No,
like let's
no.
do better. But that did surprise me. I was like, oh, okay. I don't know where you guys gonna go from this one. Like, it would have been interesting to see her kind of make it to the end and kind of cause a problem for whoever was gonna make it to like the semifinals, finals. But yeah, it was a good match. I did like it, and I was okay with the win. I was just surprised because I was like, oh, all right, she didn't win, so it was surprising. But it was a fun match. I thought it was pretty fun. I thought a lot of athleticism showed. It was good.
Yeah, it was really good. And then the thing, and it's just with Jessie, she's like, she might really still have a bone to pick because she felt like she wasn't supposed to lose those titles either way. So she might come back, but either way, her losing this match doesn't make the case for that. So she lost. Her and BK Rhythm lost. So now Coach and Randy Rara have moved further in the tournament. So that was a really good match. So moving towards their next match, it was a really this match was really short and sweet, but it was still pretty good and still impressive nonetheless on the part of one person to me. And this was of course the match between Reina Del Rey, who of course has beef with the Beast, the WOW World Champion, and Leia Makoa. And This was a match that I wasn't really expecting, but just the idea that it's happened, just, it's just really cool. So of course they keep talking about how Reina is really gunning for the title, but then on commentary, AJ actually said that she felt like she could see Reina and Leia both being world champion, at some point, which I think is really interesting, seeing as we did just see Leia and her introduction a few weeks ago. So with this match, they both did a traditional lockup, and they were pushing each other, but then Reina actually pushed Leia in the corner, and then actually, mushed her face in a very disrespectful way, which is something that I hate. And then when they locked up again, Leia pushed her back, but then even with the pushing, she still continued to mush her face. And I was just like, Reina, how many times are you just gonna disrespect this girl by getting on her face like that? And Leia just didn't take too kindly to it. So she gave her a number of headbutts and then finally mushed her in the face as if to show, look, you're not gonna mess with me and just run me over. So as it kept going forward, Reina continued to lay down different power moves and stuff. And then after a while, there was even this really impressive part of the match where Leia actually lifted her up of her own strength, lifted Reina up and gave her a Samoan drop to a near fall. And I thought for sure that would have been it, because that impressed the crap out of me. Because, like, when you look at Leia and you look at Reina, like, Leia doesn't necessarily look like she could be that strong because she's very small. So the idea that she lifted her up like that and just slammed her, I was like, whoa. I was so impressed by that, but that didn't wind up working in her favor. Reina didn't take too kindly to that, and she finally hit a body slam onto Leia to win the match. But after the match was over, Reina had some words, and she basically called out the Beast and said that she wants to be next in line for the title, and she doesn't care who or what little girl she has to run through in order to get her opportunity. So, what are your thoughts, ladies?
I mean, we've seen, Reina Del Rey has been with WOW for a really long time. We've seen her dominate, her competitors through like years and years. And even this season, she came in super strong. She came in and is not messing around. She's very serious. She's a very serious competitor. I love this match. I think it was another match under her belt, even though obviously we saw some incredible moves from her opponent. I think we have a number one contender here, and she was very serious in her promo afterwards. She's very serious going into any match, and so if I was the Beast, I'd be very nervous that you have your competition. You have some work set out for you.
Yeah, I was a little surprised it was so quick. Again, I know from other promotions and stuff, and so I was impressed with the Samoan drop, but not surprised. It was mostly like I was like, yes, I was so hyped for it. I was like, yes, show us
amazing.
what I know you can do. Like, show what I already know you can do. And so I was super hyped. I actually rewatched that I think twice after. I had to go back and let's look at this one more time to just see how cool that was. It was. I had to watch it 3 times. So just how impressed that cool that was. And it made me sad that she lost. And while I get what they're doing, I get that they're trying to make Reina Del Rey really this might be an opponent the Beast might have to worry about. They kept saying that actually during commentary that, even when we get to the next match, how this is an opponent that it might not be that easy for her to defeat. And so I understood that, but it made me sad because it was like, sis, there was moments I think when she had her, when they were kind of hitting each other. And for a moment, it kind of gave me when you kind of had enough with somebody messing with you and you just kind of clock them real quick. That I was like, okay, sweet. I was like, yes, I'll bully you in the ring. So I was like, this match had me I was so sad that it wasn't as long as it probably could have been. And that she didn't win, but I get what they're trying to do, and so it made sense. But I was sad because that Samoan drop, like I said, was absolutely it was just done so effortlessly. And I know we will see her some more. It's just I love that we're getting to see her shine in this way, because I'm like, yes, I know this about you. I was just like, yes, like let everybody else see what I know. Like, it was everything. It was unfortunate that she didn't win the match, but I did think for the time that we got, the time that was allotted for the match, she did showcase stuff that if you didn't know who she was, she definitely showed you in this match.
Yeah, it was
And what's
absolutely
exciting
sick.
is this type of like that's what I like, is like, even though someone might get a loss in one, you know, one episode, the next episode it might turn completely around and they get to show something totally different. And that's why, like, we're not done here. There's still more to come. And that's what's exciting, is like, even though this was a quick match, she got some incredible moves in that all of us were like blown away by. And that's exciting, is like, I truly believe there's more where that came from. Stephanie.
Yeah, I agree. Like, definitely. Like, I want to see more of what she has to offer, in her career, because that was just really impressive. And it would have been amazing if she had won. But Reina Del Rey came out on top. And she, of course, made her statement, and she has made her intentions known. She wants to go after the beast. So, yeah. So hopefully, Leia Makoa is definitely a future WoW world champion as well, seeing as she had such an impressive showing in such a short amount of time. So kudos to her. Love to her. That was great. So the final match, the main event ish, if you could say that, was between the Beast, the WoW World Champion, and Tormenta, who is someone that I'm new to, because I'd never seen Tormenta before. But she didn't come alone. She came with an attorney slash manager of sorts, and her name was Sophia Lopez, and she calls herself the greatest attorney in the world, and she is from Mexico. And she came out and took the microphone, pulled a Paul Heyman, took the microphone from Lauren Hunkeli and made the introduction herself. She introduced herself as Sophia Lopez and said that she only represents the best, and that her and David McLean made a deal, that she had an opponent, an imposing opponent to go up against the Beast for the title. And she introduced Tormenta, who is from Guadalajara, Mexico. She came out with all of her colors and a beautiful lucha mask, of course, which is traditional. And I was just like, okay, hey, because that was all I really could say. Like, hey, girl, what's up? So here she was. She came out in her coat and everything, and she was ready to go. But so did the Beast. And she came out and made her entrance felt, looking stunning and strong as always. And so we got started, and the match, before we get started with the match, AJ mentioned how amazing it would be if Tormenta did defeat the Beast and became the first Latina WoW World Champion. And I think that bears saying, considering we are just coming off of the Women of Color in Wrestling panel, that if another woman of color from the Latin community did win that title, that would have been amazing, for her, an amazing opportunity. So having that form of representation would have been absolutely great. But of course, we're going to get more into what happened in this match. But Emily and Katrina, how would you feel, if we did have a Latin WoW World Champion?
I think it would be cool. We talk about how we felt. I think we all mentioned it actually on the panel, the whole Bianca and Sasha main eventing, and how we felt as Black women kind of seeing that for the first time. And a lot of us started watching when we were kids. And so anytime you have a promotion, especially one that's women oriented, it's nice to see diversity in it. And this is not to knock, women that might not be of color. It's not that. It's just, we don't see that often. You don't always see the Black champion. You don't always see the Latina champion. You don't always see the Asian champion. And so to get those moments, if that can be happening, that's always great. Considering, we have currently the champion is a Black woman. So, if we get a Latina next, that's even better. I feel like that kind of solidifies making sure you have a diverse roster, but making sure you're also showcasing who's representing the brand in a diverse way. And she's a lucha, which is even like super more awesome for that. You have, we don't see too many of those either, where the champion is a lucha. I can't even give you 5 of like, lucha type champions that was like main faces of, major promotions. And so I think it would be a cool thing if we get that eventually. I mean, I like the Beast, so let me not, say I want her to lose the belt anytime soon. I don't want her to lose the belt anytime soon, but if it came down to that, I would not mind that. I think that would be an amazing thing.
Yeah, I mean, you said pretty much everything, everything that could be said. I mean, I think that's why it's so important to have shows like WOW and other women's promotions, because you should not only have representation on the screen that you're seeing, but in order to write those stories and in order to have those communities represented, you need women and those communities in the room where it all happens, and in the writer's room, and making those decisions and speaking up for those that aren't in the room, or to get those stories out there. And so I think we need more of it all around. And I'm all for whatever happens. I mean, we have it. WOW has a great champion now, but again, like you might want to mix it up a bit.
Yeah, definitely. And we have a guest in the comments, Bad Guy Jack from Unpopular Review. Hey, I was happy to
Ron.
meet him this weekend too. Representation matters. Always, always, always. Thanks for joining us, sir. So yeah, I thought that was interesting, and I'm glad that AJ brought it up because she is a woman of color who is a former champion too. So for her to bring it up was very important, and we do celebrate everyone of all of different, shades of the rainbow and all of the various things as well. So we support that here at Women's Wrestling Talk. So this match really didn't get started. It kind of did, but then it kind of didn't at the same time. There was a couple of moments where the Beast kind of like tried to knock down Tormenta, but Tormenta wouldn't move. It was almost like she was just being like an unmovable object in that, and we've seen that plenty of times in wrestling history. And then there was even a couple of times where there was one time where Sophia actually hit the Beast with her titanium suitcase to try to cheat when the Beast got tangled up in the ropes, and she didn't take too kindly to that. That made her sort of bulk up a little bit. And then we had a few hits in. There was a point where she did knock over Tormenta. But as soon as that happened, we got a visit from Reina Del Rey, who, of course, is beefing with the Beast, like we did mention before. And she decided to get involved in the match. And then the Beast was yelling at her back and forth, and they started fighting. But then as the Beast got distracted, Tormenta attacked her from behind, and they basically double teamed the Beast. And then the referee had to ring the bell to, end the match because, that's just how it goes. And they just continued to brawl and fight with each other until the referees came out and basically tried to break them up towards the end of the show. But then they also just continued to fight even more and fight even more, because security and referees breaking up fights just don't seem to work in wrestling.
You need all the referees. It seemed like they emptied the whole referee, in the back, right? Everyone tried to come out and break it apart, and they just couldn't do it. That was quite a moment.
Yeah, it was. And that's essentially how the show ended. They ended with that brawl. But I wonder, let me say this. With the match ending the way that it did on this episode, do you guys see the possibility of this match between the Beast and Reina Del Rey turning into a triple threat, considering Tormenta never really had a chance in this match?
It's possible. It seemed like she could have gave the Beast a run for her money in the beginning. I mean, the Beast, when she got her footing for a little bit that we got, she looked like she was gonna do what she normally do. I think there was a point when she got like this look in her eye, and she kind of had her like this, like between, and then Reina the Royal came out, and so she might have done some damage if that did not happen, and we don't know because she did come out and became this like off one, like, this crazy thing inside the ring. But I felt like when she got to that point, that look was like, oh, you're like light work. Like I felt like when she got to that space, if Rena did not come out, she probably would have like demolished. That's just the vibe I got from that. She was like in a whole different zone until she saw Rena, and then her whole expression was like, let me. She tossed Tormenta to the side, like when she saw Rena, like, oh, let me get my attention to you now. Like you're not even worth any of this. Like she completely just tossed it to the side. And so for me, like in the beginning, it looked like she might have given the beast a bit of run for money, but once she like tossed it, I was like, okay, maybe not. Maybe I was wrong. maybe maybe I was giving not enough credit to what the beast is. I had to apologize, to TV when I thought that, because she literally just tossed her like it was nothing, and I was like, oh, all right, never mind, I was wrong. So it could very well, because again, they didn't have a full match. I'm actually surprised the ref didn't see Sophia hit her in the head, because as a ref, I would have been like, okay, no, you need to go, sis. That would have been me. But wrestling's wrestling, right? If the manager doesn't get involved, and so it could be. But I also feel like the way I feel like if anything, Tormenta was probably just in the space that this was my match, and I'm kind of like, you did toss me to the side, like I wasn't important enough. Let me let you know I'm still here. So let's double team up. That's kind of the vibe I got when they were kind of double teaming on her. And there was one point I think where Rena kind of had her arm around the Beast's neck, while the referee was trying to hold them back, and she was still like pulling like it was nothing, and I'm like you can it, to me, insane that you have somebody like putting her weight around your throat and you still are charging full speed ahead to get to I thought that was actually a really cool thing. It just makes you see how freaking dominant the beast is. I actually was very impressed by that, because I might have forgot, like, let me forget you for a second, turn myself back around to do with you around this area. Like she completely was still pulling herself towards Tormenta, even though she was like literally had like a chokehold around her neck, and then the referees, there was like 6 of them, and I don't understand how they were struggling that hard, but they were struggling to kind of get that under control.
I mean, it showed the Beast's dominance in that last bout. But what I found interesting, to Katrina's point, is that her tone, like the Beast's tone, shifted. She was like, all right, I'm going to take on Tormenta. But like once we saw Reina, like it was totally different. And she was like, oh, this is truly where my fight needs to be. And that shift was very, very apparent. And I mean, I kind of felt bad for Tormenta, because I feel like I need to see more from her. I want to see her come back. Maybe not quite face the Beast yet, but face someone, because I feel like I didn't get enough of. I wanted more from her. I wanted to see more, and it kind of left me on the edge of my seat, like what's going to happen now. And I feel like this was there was a lot more kind of behind the scenes moments like this. Like a lot more promos, a lot more storytelling within the matches that I saw in this episode, which culminated in this big, all the referees emptying out and trying to break up this main event. And so this like ended on kind of a cliffhanger. And so I'm not sure what's going to happen, but the Beast is still dominant. The Beast showed that, like the fact that the refs can't break any of them up. And I think if they continue to build to this big confrontation, potentially maybe the season finale of the season, this big championship match, I think we're in for a big ride.
Definitely. I agree with that. Like, I know for me, I would love to see a triple threat situation, seeing as it's one of my favorite matches to begin with. So I feel like anytime you have 2 people, but then you also have a third person who could also make the case as to why they deserve a chance, I just love it. So I really feel like it should have happened. I feel like they should have had that opportunity, and a triple threat is something that should happen, but even if it doesn't, it's still okay too. Well, and that's basically how it ended. And then the crowd even chanted, let them fight, let them fight. So it looks like they really might be gunning for it too, but you just never know in the world of WOW. You never know what you're going to get. So that's really how the show ended, but it was a really solid episode, really great action. Now, of course, it comes on different times for different channels, all over the country. But of course, we'll always be here on Mondays, not always on Tuesdays, but always on Mondays at 7, 6 Central to talk about what went on WOW Superheroes, because it is such a great show filled with some of the best women's action that's going on right now. So we will always give it its due and talk about all of the action. So thank you guys for watching, and thank you Emily and Katrina for joining me per usual. Now, of course, Katrina, tell everybody where they can find you and follow you and what you've got going on.
I am on most social media platforms and Cat We Trust, Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram is 3. I just posted the full panel from New York Comic Con, which rewatching it again, I'm like, oh my god, this is us. But if you get a chance, definitely check it out. It is on my YouTube channel. The full panel is on there. Super awesome discussion, and I included everybody that was on the panel's links are all in the description. So give a follow, support merch, all that good stuff. Pretty much this is spooky season, and so my most things is kind of doing more scary stuff until Halloween because it's my favorite season, and prepping for the show in the Bronx in November, what we are wrestling, doing my backstage correspondent duties. But yeah, that's pretty much it on my end.
All right. And you, Emily?
You can follow me on all social platforms at Emily Mae Heller, and I have some cooking shows coming out. I have some wrestling stuff. I have tons of things, so follow me there, and you can catch up on all of where you can find me.
Well, there it is. And know that you can follow me, your girl, Stephanie Hardy, on Instagram and Twitter at Queen Steph Hardy. Check out my show, The Hardy Wrestling Podcast. I just ended the 4th season, but seeing as Extreme Rules decided to act crazy towards the end, I might have to pop back in and do a bonus episode. Because wrestling continues to have its foot on our necks all the time. So just when you think you finished, you're not. So hopefully I'll have a new bonus episode out this weekend. And then really that's all I have going on outside of being on the NXT after show on Thursday, and then Friday on the SmackDown and Rampage after show here on Women's Wrestling Talk. So, of course, continue to support Women's Wrestling Talk by going on our website at www.talkpod.com. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter at www.talkpod. And continue to support us in our merchandise, and also continue to look at all of our content that we have towards as we push towards the end of Hispanic Heritage Month. We have amazing writers who write amazing articles about all the people who've made history for Hispanic women as a whole in wrestling. So please continue to check that out, and just continue to support us. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, our Facebook page, and our Twitch. So in the meantime, in between time, this has been the WOW Superheroes Aftershow on Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling show on the planet. And until next time, bye, y'all.
Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling show on the planet. Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling show on the planet.